What's up?
So a couple just discussion items. Had a couple come in that are interested in purchasing a lot there at the edge of Ledge Rock. This is a lot that we've talked about multiple times before. It's kind of a triangle.
Talked about it a lot.
We have talked about it a lot. At one point in time, I actually did approach the current owner about possibly getting a sand shed down in there. He was not interested in doing that, and so it's kind of dropped off the radar. In the meantime, we've heard that the city of Ammon is going to be building a new outbuilding there off of Sunnyside, and they've offered to possibly let us use part of that for a sand shed. And so rather than trying to buy some of this ground from them and pay part of the road, I think what I told the couple yesterday that's interested in buying it, they're gonna have to pay the whole frontage. And of course, they are concerned that will drive the price beyond what they can do, which it may do. But so I told them that I would at least bring it up today and see whether there was any interest in taking part of it in sand shed. My personal belief is with the changes in the city of Ammon, if we can do it there, probably not in our best interest of having the sand shed there at the edge of Ledge Rock.
Yeah, I think we want to get some type of an MOU together with them. Participate.
Yeah.
A little bit of it helps to sweep it. Make sure you're guaranteed access in the future.
Well, guaranteed access, and we can work on an MOU. We're also going to probably cooperate with them and haul off snow on Lincoln Road, because now they're going to have a portion of that that's going to be theirs. The rest of it's going to be ours, but we've kind of looked at how this last winter was, and have been exploring options of moving the snow to the center of the street, hauling it off too. So they have the equipment to actually pick up that windrow and put it in trucks. And if we do a joint operation, we can get enough trucks we can keep them. So
yeah, just so that's good, because that sounds like a really place to haul.
I think so too.
Save the money.
Yeah, save the money for doing it.
something.
Work on sanction. So, okay, I'll convey that to them. The other thing is I have a draft copy of the application for emergency funds through LHTAC that I'd like you to kind of go through. I've asked LHTAC also to look at it, see. I sent an early draft copy. This is the second one. I typed up a written description instead of just the pictures. Get the highlights. I think what they're going to want to see on the application. But wanted you to look at it because the application will have to be signed by Commissioner Christensen before I actually turn it in.
How long does it take to work through the process and receive the funds?
So they have a board meeting on the 16th, I think, of June, or 16th or 19th, 16th. And if I get it in before that, what I'm hearing is they could actually get the check cut for pretty much after the board meeting, if it's approved.
And that would cover us for the engineering, so we can figure out what to do.
That's what I'm hoping. That's what I've applied for, is about $100,000. And hopefully that would cover a geotechnical investigation, as well as at least a great start on the engineering design plans for doing a fix.
Just gotta have the Forest Service give us the money to fix it, and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
So I don't know if reading through the description, you see anything else we should add to it.
I
What
glanced
time?
through it, it looked pretty good.
So it's a 2-page description there. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't report for it. I'm sure it's right, but any movement on your end though, or thoughts? Because I personally believe that the Forest Service needs to have some skin in the game.
Yeah.
That you need to be a partner on this.
I understand, and I think that we'll continue to look for ways we can, it's just our funding sources wouldn't be very, if there's any opportunity for funding sources, wouldn't come fast. I mean, that's amazing. Cut a check that fast.
Well, even
Yeah.
at worst case, we have to do it all. It's not going to come fast anyway. Because
So we'll continue to, look for opportunities. I mean, we're finding other places where we have failures, and, if there's any way we can add this into that list and see what happens.
So I do think this is going to be one that I need to go get a special appropriation for the delegation. That'll take a little bit of time to. They're pretty involved in getting that whole bridge.
Sure.
I think Simpson or Crable that kind of had that time. Getting the bridge,
Yeah.
then closing off the road on top. Just take this a while.
In the meantime, will people just use the back way then to access
Well, that's
for
kind of what I was
boats and?
wondering if you're gonna talk about, like, if you're thinking about the 1-lane option.
Where that is right now, an ATV trail, I was kind of waiting to hear from you whether or not the Forest Service is going to consider that as a viable option. I'm very leery about that, especially as a one-way road and without any improvements to make it accessible. If even
Right.
it's a small rainstorm, I think it would be just turn into a nightmare.
It would, and I guess that's kind of what we were thinking too, is that it would be, maybe it could be an option for emergency kind of, access, like we had a big rainstorm or something, and something happened with the paved road. Are you thinking about the 1-lane on the paved road? Opening that?
Without doing a geotechnical investigation, I think we'll keep it closed for the meantime
Okay,
and do the geotechnical investigation and try to see whether or not they really feel like that is a viable option to have a single lane.
okay, so what kind of a time frame do you think that might be? Yes,
If I can get, if they can sign the check and get it to us by middle of June, it's probably gonna be at least July before I could get somebody on board
Yeah.
to go up there and start.
I think that's the big question people have is when will we be able to get in? And we can do a little bit of improvement to it, the ATV trail, but it's still an old, forest road that is muddy and not gonna be as safe.
Right at the top.
Yeah, there's not a lot we can do with it, but, it won't be something trailers can get in. I don't think we'll have boat access.
But they can come around through Jensen Pass, right?
I haven't
We
heard
don't know
whether
if that-
Jensen is open yet.
It's not open, there's still snow at the top, and we typically have failed sections on that road.
Oh.
Also, we have signs on that road that say it's not suitable for trailers or passenger cars. And because it's steep and skinny, and
I wouldn't take my trailer on that
No,
road, I
it's-
can tell you
it's-
that.
That's
sixes with
That's
eights.
Jim Tall. Covered that.
I don't.
He was up there with the snow cap, slid off the edge.
Oh, and it's a
Because
drop
it's-
off.
I mean, it's a tough one even to get a snowmobile trail up there because it's narrow and steep on the sides.
So, I don't think we would, there's no improving that one either to make
Yeah.
it more suitable for
I
trailers.
don't think to get too big of expectations, tell them to count on for this summer. This length of time of waiting to see if.
And the people that have homes, I'm afraid they're gonna have to get in on four-wheelers or razors or something like that.
Was there any possibility of smaller vehicles coming across the dam? Temporarily?
Yeah, I mean, I did ask and I was told no for security reasons that they couldn't reopen that. So that's something that would have to come from somebody else. I mean, that's basically that they're, and that's just the folks at my level at the BLR, so.
So did you say the sheriff? Did you say? I mean, our sheriff doesn't have any weight on that,
no,
right?
that has to come
Security,
from
that
Washington.
doesn't-
Yeah,
That
no,
has to come
The
from.
Bureau of
okay,
Rec
Right.
is the ones that told her no.
Okay.
yeah,
Or
Everybody at the bottom of the food chain is afraid to change a decision made by somebody at the top of the food chain. So that
well, I
would
don't
have
think
to come
we have
from
the
the top.
ability to change it, right?
well, the flexibility we had when they closed it. I don't get a chance.
I didn't get the sense we did, but
That's why we went around and tried to get a project to cross the river.
Tunnel.
I mean, I got approval quicker than I ever thought it would through all the environmental and everything. I think it's because that area had been mined out. The turn off by the campground.
yeah, so I mean, I just, I wanted to come today to make sure that we were getting that word out because there's just a lot of people asking.
Well, so Brad Clements did put out another news release, and in that news release, it said indefinitely, because we don't have a time frame. And anybody that's been calling is like, we don't know when we're gonna have the ability to open it up.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just take a look at that ATV trail. Again, I think it's not really suitable for,
Not without some improvement.
well, yeah, and I just don't know how much you could improve anyway.
And I've never been on it, so I don't know. So,
It's quite long. 90, it's its way through there, but I mean, it's just an old logging road. So I don't think, I guess we can make that call about, I was hoping we'd get to the safe one lane open on the pavement, in that section, but you need to make that call when it's with more information.
I'd be reluctant to do that until you can show them it's safe.
that's where I'm at with it. So I don't want somebody to get up there and have a problem. And yeah, I understand people want to get in there, but
Yeah.
I also don't want somebody ending up at the bottom of Tackle Creek.
And it just keeps raining, so up there, so I'm sure that doesn't help.
Site.
It is green.
I know this pattern is, be prepared for the wildfires. When it changes, and it's 100 degrees for 2 months.
Okay, well, we'll share that with the folks who, there's one other thing I want to mention. There is a contract that the power company had to bury the overhead power lines. And they're doing that because of fire concerns. And that was supposed to start in July. And so that's up the road near the summer homes. Well, it's the power to the summer homes, so I don't exactly, the power line kind of cuts through some of the ATV trail section.
Okay, so if
I
they're
wonder if
gonna
they
do
could
it
get through.
to get to their line, they might have to.
I guess if you require them to do it to get to their line.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, they were just asking because they knew it was closed and I didn't know when they had planned to start, but that was something they hoped to do last fall, but it's set up now for July.
Is that just on that side?
They're doing a section over on McCoy Creek also. They have 2 sections they're doing, so up to those summer homes and then the line that is in. McCoy Creek.
And I was gonna try to run downstairs and talk with Brad. I think he's supposed to be back today, right? And
Yeah,
just
he's
check
back
on
now.
that. Well, I was gonna run down and talk to him about timing of any more public releases or whatever, and I probably ought to be every couple of weeks or so. I mean, we probably ought to update it. But no, we still don't have a timeframe yet.
Yeah.
But
Just tell me. That was John's number. He's-
I was thinking of Craples. Craples.
Far better not to publish.
might want to get.
Not
him
my
to-
forest.
You live in.
Yeah. Live by it.
Well, there's a lot of people going around the closure.
That,
It doesn't matter how far we go. It seems.
But
that probably will likely not happen more because they went up and they're supposed to be fixing what they didn't follow directions. The guys that took the K-rails up, they've are going to go back up and fix the K-rails and make that much more difficult for people to get around.
And I had our road crew block the two accesses on the side, the old road. They put some boulders in, so at least you can.
K-rails.
Jersey rails, K-rails, those concrete,
Concrete. Okay.
multiple different names for them.
If they're barricades, you better put yours
On barricades.
Yeah,
Jersey barriers or something.
Jersey rails or K-rails are all the same type of thing. They're a little different shape, but we've talked about how we might make it less difficult for us to get back there if we need to as well. And I think maybe we'll try to figure out how to chain those class 3 barricades to the K-rails and allow us to open it up to get through to go look at it, check it out, but then come back and lock it back up with a chain. And so we don't have to take equipment up to move the Jersey rails if we just go to look at it, so.
So that would include fire and emergency response, I would think. So
Well,
wildfire, maybe.
fire and emergency response, if they need to get through a chain, they'll cut it.
Yes, but I'm just saying like, it would apply to the Forest Service fire folks who are looking for a smoke if we get a report or something like that.
If you get a report of
Yeah.
smoke, probably yes,
Yeah.
but if you're just patrolling,
No,
probably not.
yeah. Well, and the other thing is we have, and we can work our way from Elk Jensen, but the road into Bear Creek Trailhead is washed out, totally washed out.
Yeah.
So you can't get there. And so we did put a barricade up there to let people know. And that are in there even with an ATV. so
Yeah.
they can still get back there.
Yeah, it washed out the whole road.
Yeah,
heard,
it's
so.
gone. So, and, you know, like I said, we'll probably find something else on Elk Jensen, but they can work their way from the McCoy Creek side to Bear Creek if they have to. Because they did, you know, we were asking about like, what's the heaviest thing
Yeah.
that might cross the road? Our road crew said our excavator, because they have to go fix that Bear Creek road. but-
Yeah, you don't want to be taking.
No,
risks
I
with
think
the
we'll
road
just,
right
that, you know, I think hopefully people will just figure it out. That's closed for now.
now. Road closed means road closed.
So you can get try to do a training exercise and lift one in for you.
You know that there's a video on Instagram of somebody coming out of the ATV trail with a wide vehicle. It wasn't a full-size truck vehicle, but it was a wide UTV. And they just picked up the gate post and moved it. The guy drove through, they put it back. Somebody was filming the whole thing.
License plate visible on there side by side.
Actually, the big flags that were on the top of it were pretty,
Union Jack
specific.
and don't tread on me.
no, just like American
Sure.
flags, I think.
Talking about that road closed up there.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, that we'll just plan to go the other way unless there's some sort of emergency to, and I'll tell our campground hosts that they need to go in through the ATV trail. Because they're still trying to,
You've got a host of climbing.
well, there's somebody who's supposed to be there yet. I don't think their camper was there yet.
How they got gotten up there.
True.
around the road.
All right. Well, campos usually travel rather large.
And they're probably still parked in the Riverside.
So you don't plan to close that campground
It is closed, yeah.
indefinitely until the road's
Yeah.
fixed? So
Yeah.
you won't have a host there?
No, but there's somebody who came specifically for that job.
Oh,
Somebody
Who's
can
sitting
vote over
down,
it,
they
right?
can help out somewhere else.
okay,
Just by vote.
okay.
Yeah, blowout will leak the hell.
That's gonna make that one busy, isn't it?
And
I don't know
the
if it's gonna be a
reservoir's full,
mess.
it's gonna be pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Close.
So talking about it, we just thought that maybe I was gonna run down and talk to you about
Mhm.
press releases and how often maybe they ought to be updated. And I'm probably thinking every couple of weeks, we probably,
Change the picture, leave the text.
So, I mean, yeah, we can just keep putting that back out there and letting everybody know that it's still closed or whatever progress being made at whatever point.
okay.
So,
And with this application, if I hear back anything different from LTAC, what I'll probably try to do is get it on the agenda for either Friday or Monday morning to have Commissioner sign it. We can get it sent off to them.
I think before we contact the delegation, we need to find out.
Geotechnical.
But regardless of that, we're gonna need the help from the delegation to pay for the repairs, you know, that's gonna be expensive.
You know, right now it's just a ballpark estimate.
Yeah.
It'd be good to have some statistics.
So, of course, I know it was a national park, but they had that flooding up in North Yellowstone last year, right? That was millions of dollars. Boy, they fixed that in a hurry. They found money for that quick.
That was
Probably doesn't
declared
compare.
national emergency.
Yeah, I
And
get it.
we
It
would
doesn't-
have to have a declaration of an emergency from the governor
Probably
to.
both
meet it.
governors.
So,
do,
yeah.
also.
so for that, we have to tie it to a specific event. And generally, they consider spring runoff not a specific event. Like if we had the rainstorm that came, hit Idaho Falls, hit up there and Wash Rattle Road, that would qualify, but where it's spring melt off, they're not. They won't say. Spend money on something like that. They just
That
say,
would be some type of special appropriation. Earmarks.
We'll be looking for other revenue sources. LTAC sent me a link to some possible other ones, but most of those are tied to it either being a declared emergency or it being on the federal highway system, which Bear Creek is not on the federal highway
That's just a
system.
lot.
And so, yeah, I don't know how much some of these other revenues will pan out. So.
I was just thinking it may be a good idea to not just send the same text, but to give a little update. I mean, if we get this grant from LTAC for the engineering,
Yeah.
to include that so that
Yeah.
the public can see that
That we're making.
There's
we're
steps.
trying to make progress,
Yes.
yeah.
That's a good idea. And maybe even the idea of, and I don't know if you want to throw it out there yet, but if it looks like it could open up to be like a one lane to get the vehicles in, the trailers in.
And
Maybe.
And again, depending on
Yeah.
what that geotechnical
Yeah.
study
Understood.
says, so.
Yeah.
But that's gonna probably be at least July before I
Yeah.
even come close to getting somebody up there.
We'll just be factual, but I think it's good for them to know we're working, you know, we're not just sitting back and saying it's closed
Yeah.
still.
Might not hurt to have some pictures of what's happened there.
Yeah. Well, and there, you have at least the one picture that was put on the press release, and so
Yeah,
we
we got the
keep getting some
a
others.
handful, so if you get more, just feel free to send them over. So you guys have a file share system set up so that when somebody downloads it, you can see, all see it, is that right? Or is that just?
So not correctly, I guess it's on, we could put something on SharePoint right now. We don't have anything there, but I could put those on SharePoint, and I think you can get access to SharePoint.
Yeah, that could also be, or email's easy enough, you just email me anytime you get updated pictures, so.
I'll look to get it on SharePoint, and I'll tell you where that is, because I think you should have access to SharePoint and have it under Road and Bridge. So.
So we have an email list of all those homeowners, that the cabin owners so we've been trying to update them. Hopefully they'll not be calling because of those.
They stopped calling us, at least this week.
We're full of ideas on what we could do.
Are they full of bank accounts?
Whole community of engineers up there, I'll bet.
Oh, yeah, everyone's an expert.
Kind of like both.
Yeah,
One question that I get often is, what's the fine if I go up there? So,
it's a citation.
Your firstborn, your side by side, and $3,000.
and I guess maybe that's something to put on the sign. I don't know, that's what, if we,
$95 and any cost to recover your vehicle.
I don't know what
I
it
don't
is.
know.
I can ask the sheriff's office. if
Sheriff's
they can include
office.
That information. So, because, it's an $85 citation unless you spill fuel onto Forest Service land, right? And you guys have astronomical cleanup prices.
Super
high
fun
right
site.
But then the question becomes enforcement.
exactly,
The tickets out there.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Because in order to write the citations, they have to actually see them behind, and they shouldn't be getting behind it either.
right,
Go see them, so. Unless
right.
they cross the lake on a previous vehicle or something.
Yeah, we did have the docks that will be, where they wanted to, we were gonna have them more boats for the first time, try it. We have the 25 slips that we drew names out of the, no, it's 25. Yeah, people were ready to pay for their slips for their boat at Clements. So it's kind of a bummer. But that's the way it goes.
Okay, I'll get those on SharePoint and I'll make sure you know about it. I think at least every couple weeks, and then if we can get this signed either Friday or Monday, I'll get it sent off to them, and hopefully they can get that approved through the emergency thing, and we'll get $100,000 to start, so.
I'm gonna go back to my other meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I didn't have anything else unless there's other questions from you.
Let me know if you need anything for the news release or want
Yeah.
anything from us.
Who's your PIO that came back?
Katie Gorby is sitting
Kate.
in Washington DC and doing some work for us, and Sarah can help out too.
Oh, Sarah said your regular person came back.
It's Katie,
Is it Katie?
yeah, but
Okay.
she actually works remote from,
DC?
Yeah.
Can you send me her contact info?
yes, I'll do that.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The only thing that I was gonna talk about is our basement in our building. So I was talking to John a little bit this morning, but so how does the whole iCrimp thing work? If we make a claim, because we were talking about whether or not just to leave the basement cement and not finish any of it, but then I was asking John, well, if we're already making a claim, does it make sense just to buy the materials and do it? Where we've already made a claim, do they cover all of that? And then that's something that wouldn't have to come from us later.
So you are gonna have strip paneling off?
Well, we ripped all the floor out. There's like 4 walls that have been entirely pulled out.
I thought you were talking about not going back to the concrete. Paneling on the walls.
It's good space. Initially, you said one go back to cement. And we said, well, it's probably okay. Yeah, so we kept the paneling where we could. All American came in and showed where the water was, and there was areas that they just cut half the wall and pulled the insulation so that it could dry out.
I don't think it would hurt to get it done on his claim.
That's what I think too.
At some point in the future, you basically lock yourself out of. Lock yourself into having to redo it if you ever want the
Yeah, and that's kind of what my thought was, but I just didn't,
There's a lot of room down there.
yeah.
The All-American guy leaves. Question is, do you want to put the carpet back in there?
No.
I don't think we'll put carpet in
Put that
there.
other flooring.
I think we'll put the same stuff that they've been putting at DMV and. Yeah, I mean,
It flooded the room that they hadn't done the flooring in, so it was old carpet, so.
they're pretty close. I mean, work release has been over there the last couple days, getting the rest of the carpet and stuff out. But yeah, I just was thinking about that yesterday. I figure we just as well, if we have the funding through ICRIM to do it, why we've made the claim, just we'll get it done. That was really all that I had.
Okay, I guess we're